Hey, it's Mike with Mike Jones Knife and Tool, and today I'm doing some sharpening. So I thought I would give you guys a quick rundown of how I've been sharpening my knives lately because it's been working really well. I picked up this guy. It's a Mastercraft Maximum sharpening wheel system. It's got the whetstone on the one side, and this is a leather wheel on this side. This thing was 300 bucks. I was waiting for it to go on sale for the longest time. Never did. So I bought the bit the bullet and went for it, and I've been happy with it really so far. One cool thing I've noticed about this one, I've used some other sharpening systems, really like the $700-800 expensive ones. This guy has a reversible switch, so instead of having to spin the machine around, if you want, you can reverse the direction of the spin, which is handy. If you have the grinding wheel spinning towards the blade, it's a lot more aggressive than having it spin away from the blade. And obviously you don't want your leather wheel spinning towards you while you're stropping either. So like I mentioned, this has got the leather stropping wheel on the one side, which is really handy. I've got a regular stick handheld strop, which works really well, but obviously not as well as a powered one. And a 200 grit wheel. First thing you're going to notice right away when I turn this thing on is the wheel is no longer round. I was really surprised actually with it. It's now got a bit of a taper to it as well, but it went out of true pretty quick. I'll have to get some sort of diamond stone or something and true it up. It did come with the jigs that can mount here or out the back for setting a bevel like really well, especially if you're using if you're sharpening like a chisel or a hand plane steel. It's really good for that because then you can get just a perfect deadly square grind as long as your wheel is true then. So my routine has been as follows. When I grind the bevel on the finished bevel on the blade, I leave a tiny bit. You can kind of tell, you can see that light colored little edge there where the light is reflecting. That's how you know you've got right there. So that's the little bit of edge that I leave on there. So it's not sharp right now. It's dull. So to set my micro bevel along the very edge, I go first with the 200 grit whetstone. The reason it's wet is, for one thing, it keeps it lubricated and keeps the steel that's coming off of your blade out of the stone. And also, now that this blade is tempered, you don't want to overheat it. So having it wet, having your stone wet, and having the blade get wet protects it from doing that. So once that's done, it leaves a pretty aggressive burr. 200 grit's still a pretty low grit, so it leaves a pretty good burr on the edge. So from there, I set up this diamond stone in my vise. This is one of those $40 four-sided stones. It's got 4 different grits. This is the fine grit. It's not the extra fine, but it's the fine. I think it's about a 400. This grit, I can't remember, but I'll take it to that and I'll work it back and forth by hand using that bevel that I've established with the wheel until I can no longer see the burr anymore. But you can still feel a micro little wire after the fine. There is an extra fine, but I abandon that guy and I come back over to the leather strop, and from there, with some honing compound, I'll go back and forth on the strop. It gives it that nice polish. The green honing compound, that's the green stuff from Lee Valley. It'll give it that nice polish and also work the burr off and make it hair popping sharp. So here we go. I'll fire up the sharpener here. I'll try to do this all in one shot so there's no camera trickery in case you guys don't believe that I'm doing it. But right now, dull. All right. Very important to try to keep your angle consistent, but also do as many grinds on either side as you can. Keep your speed and your pressure consistent. And I go back and forth until I can see a slight burr along the whole edge. You want to have good lighting. I got the 100-watt halogen above me so I can see that burr reflect right away. tend to get lighter and lighter with my passes as it goes because I don't need to take off quite as much steel. Get it with a rag. So there you can see that's a lot of fur off of the rag, but you can tell there's a heavy burr on there along the micro bevel, how it's all rough and gross. So now when you go to a stone, any kind of stone, if it's a diamond stone or a whetstone or whatever, and you're doing it by hand, once you've got a bevel established, you want to find that, and you can watch and you can feel a little bit, but you're looking for a little shadow line there. When you flatten out too much, there'll be a shadow, and you come up until the shadow disappears, and you can kind of, if you got the right touch, you can just barely feel where that bevel is. Now this diamond stone's a little bit short. It's small. It's not a good sized stone, but for 40 bucks, I got 4 sides, and I think I've had this thing for like 3 years. You can't complain. Diamond stones are nice because they last a long time. They don't wear out and dip like a whetstone would, or natural stone. Natural stones are really nice too, especially if you get a good one. A friend of mine brought me one 1000 grit from Japan. I only use it for the really special knives. So I'll go back and forth here. Again, consistent pressure, and do as many passes on one side as you do on the other. And I'm going until I can no longer see that burr. Full even strokes along the whole edge. Now you get that kind of grabby, sharp feeling all the way along the edge. Get the rag again and get rid of that dust. So now it's got that sharp look to it. Micro bevel. It feels sharp if you drag against the edge, but when you drag with it, on the one side, the side that you finished on, you feel a tiny little grab there, just a little burr. So that's what the leather's for. Little green honing compound. Doesn't take much. And same as always, consistent, even strokes, even pressure, even number per side. And the thing about the leather is that it's soft. It's not hard like the stone, and so it's got a little bit of give to it. So it'll actually bend around the blade a little bit, and it's bending that burr back and forth as you keep going side to side, and it'll break it off. That honing compound gives it that nice little polish that everybody likes. That doesn't hurt. You get a little bit of forgiveness out of the leather too. You don't have to be quite as exact on your bevel. Lots of people ask me all the time when I give them a knife, or they buy a knife, how to keep it sharp, which is awesome. I love it when people ask me how to maintain their knives, because it means they're actually going to care about them. My answer is always sharpen it however you sharpen any other knife. Just be consistent with it. You can use stone, diamond stone. You can use one of those steels like chefs on TV always use. You gotta be careful with those, they can be a little aggressive and ruin a knife. Even the little ones that sit on a counter and you just drag through, even those ones are fine. Just make sure that you always use the same one, because the bevel, the angle of the bevel that you set with that may not be the same as another one if you use it at a friend's house or whatever. So you may be trying to reset your bevel every time you change sharpening technique, which is fine. Just takes a little longer, and every time you sharpen, you take material off your blade. And with the bevel, it gets fatter and fatter as you go up the face of the knife, so you really only have so much life in that blade if you sharpen it a lot. Eventually you'll get to the point where you're sharpening a big fat section and it's a really aggressive bevel, and it's just not going to cut properly anymore. So this one's getting pretty good. The fine scratches from that diamond stone are disappearing with that polish. And that should hopefully be pretty sharp. So, clean the blade off. The honing compound always leaves a little bit of residue on there. With a clean-ish rag, you can get it off. Camera skills are poor, but now when you drag your finger with the edge down the blade like that, you can't feel any grab. There's no burr along there, it's smooth. And that's what you want. Just for fun, let's see if it'll shave hair. This is gonna, sorry. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it's popping the hairs off my... Yeah, there you go. People always laugh at me because I got bald forearms and stuff, but there you go. Hair popping sharp. It only takes a couple of minutes with this system. Works really efficiently. It's great for someone like me who sometimes has to make a bunch of knives and sharpen a bunch of them at once, which is awesome. So last thing I want to say is I leave this step till the very end. Once the handle is done, once the sheath is done, once everything is wrapped up, even I'll do the little etch of the happy face first before I sharpen it. This is the last step. Then I've even got the sheath here with me. The sheath's not sewn yet, but then I can just put it in there and walk it into the house and won't cut myself or whatever. I even know guys who won't keep sharp knives around. They'll sharpen it once someone buys it, as soon as it's sold, and they sharpen it, put it in the package, and it's out the door. That's probably smart. I just really like the feeling of something being totally done, and then I can put it in the box for sale, and I don't have to think about it again. I always check it before it goes out the door, but that's I learned the hard way. Don't start making your sheath with a sharp knife or anything like that. So that's it. Sharp knives. Sharp knives are safe knives. You heard it here, probably 90th. Thanks again. And I'm not even going to lie about having another video soon, because I probably won't. But thanks for sticking around, and talk to you next time.